So very labor focused today, as was the convention. As I said while we were there, the word union was everywhere. The idea of that we've been talking about for years on this program finally filtering into the DNC and into the Democratic language, which is the way we reunite this country is to reunionize. The way we bring back equality of opportunity, equality of wages, to where we bring back some bit of balance is by reunionizing. Corporate America is doing wildly well, and yet every time you turn around, working people are tightening the belt, tightening the belt, tightening the belt, to where they're either on the last notch or well past the last notch, having to get the hammer and the nail out to make a new hole to tighten the belt a little bit tighter. It shouldn't be that way in the wealthiest country on the planet, the wealthiest country in the history of humanity at its wealthiest point. Shouldn't be that way. We can do different things. And while we were at the convention, had a lot of those conversations around the idea of where do we want to go? And this is the positive stuff. This is the good stuff. This is what I love about politics. The discussions of what if, the discussions of how do we make lives better, the possibilities of using government in a way that makes lives better, that does the things, and you've heard me say this before, that does the things that we want done but can't do individually, so we have to do them collectively. This idea of using government to make lives better, to me, is really important. And the Democrats, quite frankly, exuded that entire during their entire convention. Tim Walz, the walking embodiment of that. So for me, this convention, I hope sticks. The hope is that Harris wins in November. Those ideas are not just hanging around, but are being pushed. Because in talking to my labor friends who were there, which something like 20% of the delegates in that arena were labor people. And as I've been saying for years, you want a labor party? Take one of the two over. Move them in the direction of being a labor party. And the Democrats and labor people are moving the Democratic Party in that direction. Because you know what we didn't hear anything of? We heard no neoliberalism. We heard both Obama and Clinton speak, and no neoliberal rhetoric. Nope. And when I hear that the neoliberals are upset, Rahm Emanuel, I go, good, about time. It's about time working people are at the front of the agenda, not an afterthought. And for me, that's this important moment. This is the time where, coming out of the pandemic, you have that collective anger, and on both sides. And look, I think that anger should be something that unites us, not tears us apart. If you watch the RNC, if you listen to Trump's speeches, that pain, that struggle is what he uses to divide. This idea that we have an economy that works for everyone should be something everyone wants. Now, true, if you're one of the folks at the top who, quite frankly, have done very well over the last several decades, you probably don't want that, because you're probably going to do a little less better, but maybe not a lot less. This idea that we give opportunities to others doesn't mean necessarily that we lose them for ourselves. And that's the zero-sum game that's been thrown on us. This idea that if I'm doing well, and we do anything to make that guy over there's life better, somehow it's going to affect me. And they play on that, don't they? They use that to pit us against one another. Look, I want my neighbor to do well. I want my neighbor on both sides of me to do well. I want my neighbor down the street to do well. Because if he's doing well, if they're all doing well, the potential for me to do well is there also. And that's the kind of economy we should want. And elections should be one of those, to answer one of those questions. What kind of a society do we want? What kind of an election do we want? What kind of a people do we want to be? The fact that we held a debate and there was nobody there because people haven't figured out how to behave should send a pretty loud message. Not the country I want to be part of. I want a better place. I want a place where people can disagree, I know people I disagree with all the time, and we have civil back and forth discussions. Sometimes they get a little loud, but for the most part, they're just discussions. We can and should, again, with the right leadership, move back in that direction. But again, it comes back down to what I just say, the right leadership.